Joe Thomas in the morning, continuing our Feet to the Fire virtual radio rally. Just like we would have been doing it if we were in D.C., I just can't smell the bag of other people's money, and there's really not a whole lot left in it. They've been handing it out like candy, although the freshly printed stuff is interesting from what I'm told. It smells different because there's really no value to it, but it's lighter. It's airier. Next up on Radio Row with us today, and it's really just a fancy name from my phone bank, but that's okay. He is Dale Wilcox of the Immigration Reform Law Institute. Just finished a big dig into Fairfax County, Virginia. I'm going to make my best Macaulay Culkin face to feign shock that they found anything there. But Dale, welcome back. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
So George Soros spends a bag of money unless I'm on Fox, and then we don't need to talk about George Soros here, I think is the new slogan for Fox. But George Soros spends a whole bunch of money to have a Democrat kicked out of office, film at 11, and institutes somebody who said out loud, I'm not even going to prosecute misdemeanors anymore. So I guess it shouldn't surprise us that they have some pretty bad sanctuary records. What did you guys find at the Immigration Reform Law Institute?
Yeah, my organization has been digging into sanctuary cities and states nationwide, and Fairfax County caught our attention. They have one of the most egregious sanctuary policies, and what we found is over the last 2 years, they have denied just over 900 immigration detainer requests.
Wow.
Now, an immigration detainer request is a request from ICE, or federal immigration authorities, that a local jurisdiction who's picked up an alien who's allegedly committed a crime, hold them in jail for ICE to come pick them up, to remove them from the country. Mm-hmm. And, of course, if Fairfax County is going to release them back out onto the streets, ICE wants to apprehend them and remove them. So Fairfax County in the last 2 years has dishonored over 900 ICE detainer requests. They honored 14, and likely the only reason they honored 14 was because DOJ was involved and separate federal crimes were committed by the aliens, so there was a criminal warrant. But Fairfax County has put this limit and said, we're not going to honor detainer requests unless you present us with a criminal warrant for the alien. Well, they know that there's no such thing in our civil immigration law as a criminal immigration warrant. So effectively, Fairfax County is feigning cooperation. Oh, we'll cooperate if ICE will provide us the right documentation. Yeah. That's not how it works.
Well, if it wasn't for double standards, they wouldn't have any at all. And these lawyers, they don't really prosecute any crimes anymore. So they have all this time in the world to sit around and find ways out of it. There used to be a time, there was this fellow Cuccinelli who used to represent the northern part of Virginia in the Virginia Senate. It wasn't all that long ago. That our time has really slowed down for me, Dale. Are there, and I say this because I'm sure well-meaning people just like to win. That's why people root for the Yankees and the Patriots. Okay, sure. So fine. Some people might actually like the Patriots and the Yankees, but most of them, they just like to win on Sundays. When they see things like the shootings of the police officers in California, the sheriff's officers and things like that, are we starting to at least be able to say to some Democrats, listen, can we find some people who are going to stand for law and order? When we see the McCloskeys, who were contributors to Black Lives Matter and local Democratic officials before all of a sudden Black Lives Matter came to say, quote, thank you to their house, in Fairfax County and places like that, are we at least coming up with a tactic to say, look at what this has done? Is this the world you want your children or grandchildren to grow up in?
Yeah, they're not listening. This is politics ahead of public safety. It's plain and simple. This is identity politics at its worst. These counties are pandering to the Hispanic community, certain segments of society for votes. That's what it's about. It's about power. And they are putting our lives at risk to secure their position in power. that they will control. And you're right. It wasn't that many years ago that Fairfax County, in 2008, I believe, Fairfax County asked to be part of the 287G program, which is a program that ICE has that allows state and local police officers to be deputized essentially as federal immigration authorities, and they're allowed to do things that only the federal officers are allowed to do. That was 2008. Here we find ourselves in 2020, and Fairfax County has swung, entirely a different direction. And it's purely, and I hate to be cynical, but it's politics. It is politics. It's about votes. It's about the Hispanic community's vote. It's about the potential, they're trolling for prospective voters. Who knows? These criminals will be able to vote too, as we see with what? Bloomberg is paying the fines of criminals and felons in Florida so that they can vote. Now, those fines are punishment. Those fines were supposed to be placed on those people for restitution to pay for their crimes. And Bloomberg is saying, who cares about that? We want their vote. This is what it's about. It's shameful, and it's putting people's lives at risk. Sanctuary laws are not fair. They're not compassionate. They're dangerous. I mean, just a week ago, ICE notified us that 3 of the 5 MS-13 gang members who are charged with murdering a 16-year-old girl in Baltimore County, Maryland, 3 of those were illegal aliens, and 2 had previous ICE detainer requests launched against them, and they were ignored, one by New York and one by Maryland. So this is not theoretical. People are being harmed and killed.
I know elections aren't your pitch, but when you see polling numbers that say in Florida the Latino community supports President Trump, not President candidate Biden, when you look at the groundswell that a candidate like Kim Klacik is having in Baltimore for her congressional run. I know it's about votes, and they think it's about votes, but have they overdone it, and have they killed their electoral golden goose?
Well, it depends. It works in certain jurisdictions. Florida is different. Florida is special because you're talking mostly about Cuban Americans, and Cuban Americans, they know socialism. They know the harms of socialism. They know communism, and they don't want any part of that. So certainly in places like Florida, yes, the president is doing very well with the Hispanic community because they won't play that game. They know where it leads. So they are strong supporters of the president. But sadly, throughout other parts of the country, it's not the same story. We're seeing states flipped because of the influx of immigrants, particularly from south of the border. And this is a long game that the Democrats have been playing, and it's sad. My organization is not political, as you noted. We would welcome into our tent anybody who believes that America's interests should be put first, American workers, American taxpayers. But Democrats have almost wholesale given up on any kind of immigration control because they see the value in the votes.
Well, and we had mentioned the Commonwealth's attorney in Fairfax, a longtime Democrat, when he signed into the program to deputize local officials to round up illegal immigrants. It's a safety issue. If you're a prosecutor, you don't want criminals, especially ones that you technically have no jurisdiction over outside of presence, and you want them out and back where they're supposed to be, especially if they're there to be street muscle for drug gangs. Is making your job 10 times harder. It would seem like a logical argument. What are you guys working on right now? We mentioned the expose on Fairfax. Dale Wilcox from the Immigration Reform Legal Institute. I always mess up your acronym. IRLI.org is the website. What are you guys working on next?
Well, principally, we are a not-for-profit law firm. So we do investigations, and we have several investigations in the hopper that you'll be hearing about here soon. I can give you a little exclusive here. King County, Washington, we're going after them. They have particularly egregious sanctuary law out there.
Now that's Seattle, isn't it? That's the county Seattle is in?
That's Seattle. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can't imagine them having sanctuary policies there.
There's no mystery here that, these jurisdictions that are having problems with riots are the same jurisdictions that have sanctuary laws. Lawlessness breeds lawlessness.
But you had to show
surprise.
You had to show ID to get into the CHOP, Chaz, whatever zone, though. That's irony there. If you were to...
it is. They even had a border wall, so imagine that.
Go figure.
But we're principally a law firm, and we have been very busy going around the country supporting the president's policies. He's been sued left and right, and we are in courts nationwide defending the border wall, defending his policies on asylum, which that whole system has been gamed for many years, and there's like 1 million people backlogged in the system as a result of the Obama years. And we have quite a bit going on, and we're defending the president's policies here. He's issuing new regulations, and we engage in when the administration calls for public comment, we dig deep in there and support the administration. So we have a lot on our plate right now. We're very busy.
Well, God bless you for what you do.
We're having a lot of victories. When these cases make their way to the Supreme Court, we're winning one after another. So even though these the opposition has cherry-picked judges throughout the country who will rule in their favor, once we get to the high court, we're stomping them. So that's the good news.
Well, keep up the great work. Dale Wilcox, the Immigration Reform Legal Institute, thank you for all the work you're doing to make sure that our citizenship has value, and we appreciate it. And you have a great rest of the morning.
Thank you for having me.